This is Gene Monterastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is a special announcement for September 8th, 2021. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever part of the world you get a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Today, I have a special announcement about some really cool things that I have created that you can access absolutely free. But before we do that, just two quick announcements. First of all, we have a free 10-part guide on how you can use tapping to eliminate self-sabotage. All you need to do is go to tappingqa.com, click on the big blue button in the upper right-hand corner, or if you happen to be on the website right now, up in that upper right-hand corner, click on the blue button, enter your email address, and every single day for the next 10 days, we'll send you a little bitty bite of something that you can do with your tapping so that you get more out of your tapping and can eliminate self-sabotage. At the end of the 10 days, you can choose those one or two tools that work best for you and then use them over and over again. Secondly, a big shout out to all of the supporters of the Tapping Q&A podcast. They make sure you get an opportunity to get this content absolutely free, and they do it voluntarily, which is really awesome. If you would like to support the podcast so it continues and to receive some really cool free gifts, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com/support. Over the last 7 or 8 months, I have been doing a lot of thinking about the work that I do, how it fits into the world, how I can best serve you, my listener, and the content that I create. Because if I'm going to spend time and energy in doing something, I might as well do it in a way that's going to help the people who are going to be consuming it. And as I have been going through this process, one of the things that I've realized is that tappingqa.com and the Tapping Q&A podcast has grown and evolved over the last 14 years. And part of that is because my interests have grown and evolved. Part of it is because you, the audience, has changed over time. And part of it is just because I have had a lot of internal growth. And hopefully, I'm a much different person than I was 15 years ago. And I really think that is the case. And so as I was assessing this and thinking about this, I created some real clarity about what I enjoy spending my time and attention doing. And as I figured that out, it helped me to figure out the content that I should be creating. And so what I realized was that in the work that I do, there are 3 basic areas that I really love. Number 1 is how can we use tapping in sophisticated ways to create faster, deeper, more profound transformation. That's the reason why I taught the Art of Delivery class last summer. That's the reason why every single month I do the Art of Delivery Monthly, is it's an opportunity to go really deep with these topics. And so moving forward, Tapping Q&A is going to continue to have the 1,100 resources that are on the website absolutely free. And the focus of this podcast and the articles on the website are going to lean more towards application of tapping, not the basics of tapping. There's enough basic stuff on the website, like introductory stuff. I don't mean basic like simple, but introductory stuff to tapping. So you're still going to be able to access all of that. I'm actually in the process of doing a website redesign, so it's going to be easier to find tapping resources on topics and things like that. Because at this point, there's 1,100 resources on there, and it's hard to navigate if you're just typing into a search bar. So I'm going to make it much easier for you to find what you need. And this podcast will continue every other week, as it has for the last month or two, in a way where we're going to be talking a little higher level, a little more sophisticated, a little deeper, so you can make more progress with your tapping. Number 2, I realized that I really enjoy helping people to take the action they want so they can create the life that they want. And that could be helping a small business owner to be able to do the thing that they love in a way that allows them to reach more people, or it could just be, how do you live a more authentic, deep, personal life? And because that is the case, the thing that I've come to the realization of is that it's not just the process and the structure and the system and a well-defined to-do list and good goals. Those are important things, but the resource state we are in at the moment we take action impacts our ability to take action. That when I'm tired, I'm much less likely to be focused and I'm more likely to procrastinate. When I'm afraid, I'm much less likely to do the important tasks in my life because they might go wrong, and I do busy work. And all of this led me to this place of what I call first action, best action. And what I mean by that is, what is the first action that I can take to ensure that the actions I take for the rest of the day or the time that I'm sitting down to work is my best action? For those of you who participated in the 5 a.m. Action Club, you saw that firsthand. It was all about how do we set up our day so as we step into it, we do it in a way where it's easier for us to be successful. So to that end, I have created a podcast called First Action, Best Action. And funny enough, if you go to firstactionbestaction.com, you can find that particular podcast. This podcast is actually going to go out 4 times a week. After the first couple of episodes, it's been live for a couple of weeks. The episodes are just under 10 minutes long. And in every single episode, I teach you one thing, a mindset shift, a tool that you can use, a way to approach problems to change your resource state so that as you step into whatever you are doing, you're doing it in a way where you are not gripped by fear and gripped by the resistance that we so often tap on. It's not a tapping podcast, but if you are a tapper, it's going to provide you a beautiful number of questions and a beautiful set of reframes that you can use while you are tapping. Again, if you go to firstactionbestaction.com, there's links in the show notes to the place that you can subscribe to it everywhere you get audio. And if you do it, I would really encourage you to listen to episode number 1. You don't have to start in the beginning. They're not in chronological order, but I'd really encourage you to listen to episode number 1, which is a little longer. But it kind of sets up the thesis of the entire show so you can see where it is going. And in reality, the first week of episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 tell a complete story. After that, you can jump around. There's lots of fun stuff coming. I already have a number of weeks of episodes recorded and in the can so that you're going to get a chance to experience that. So again, if you go to firstactionbestaction.com, you can subscribe to that, or wherever you are listening to this particular audio, if you search First Action, Best Action, you will find that. The other podcast I created is something that is very, very personal. It is about my personal spiritual journey, and it may be for you and it may not be for you, and that's okay. The reality is a podcast that I wanted to start publishing a year ago, February. And I became crippled by fear as I was trying to put it together, because I wanted it to be so good and thoughtful and deliberate and useful. And because of that fear and because of that overwhelm, it just got put on the back burner. And then I came up with all sorts of excuses, and the next thing I know, it was a year later. And a year later, this past March, I was talking to my friend Kyle, who is also a podcaster, and he was talking about the new things that he was doing, and it was really a fun conversation. And he said, "So whatever happened to Our Lady Podcast?" That's the name of the show. And I said, "Oh yeah, I got scared. I didn't do it." And then I made a critical mistake. I said out loud, if I created this podcast and no one ever listened to it, it would be so good for me and my soul, it wouldn't matter if anybody listened. And the reason why that was a critical mistake, the moment I said that out loud, I knew I no longer had a choice. I had to do it because it was something that I needed to wrestle with. And so the idea of the show is, in Catholic theology, Jesus' mother, the Virgin Mary, has a number of titles. Our Lady of Confidence, Our Lady Star of the Sea, Cause of Joy, Mirror of Justice. And about 11 years ago, when I was visiting New York before I lived here, I was waiting in a coffee shop for a friend of mine, and I was there early. And for whatever reason, I just started coming up with, I wanted to research all of these titles. And after I researched all these titles, I took about 20 of them, and I wrote one-line prayers for each one of the titles. And the prayers were either prayers about what I need in my life or prayers about what I am called to be in the world. And so in each episode, what I do is I take one of those titles, like Our Lady of Confidence. The first part of the show, I explore, what does that virtue actually mean? And how can we learn from Mary about that? The second part of the show is about how do I need that virtue extended to me in my own life. The third part of the show is how am I called to live that out as I interact and encounter the people around me. The show comes out about once every 2 weeks. The reason why it doesn't come out on a regular schedule is it is purely something that is personal, that I'm wrestling with myself for my own personal growth that I'm just sharing and hopeful that other people will find useful. And because there is so much internal wrestling for that, I spend about 20 hours on each episode researching and making notes and constructing my show notes and figuring out what is going on. Episode number 4, in the process of creating the show notes and the outline for the show, I actually changed one of the actions that I'm currently taking in my life in a really significant way, which I have a feeling you're going to hear about very, very soon because it's causing me to start a nonprofit organization that's going to be very, very exciting about justice. But it's a personal show. It's a show about being human and how we can be more human and more connected every single day. Of the things that I'm creating new, it is the thing that is farthest from the beaten path of what we are doing here. Again, it's called Our Lady of Podcast because of all of the Our Lady honorifics we talk about. If you go to ourladyofpodcast.com, you can find all of the information about the show. Or if you search Our Lady of Podcast in your podcatcher app, the thing I am ridiculously and stupidly proud of is the show art. You just have to see it to believe it. It's really, really fun. So that is what is going on here in Tapping Q&A world. The Tapping Q&A podcast is going to continue to march on, helping you to get more out of your tapping so that you can take the actions that you want, so that you can clear the resistances that are in front of you, so that you can master the art of delivery with your tapping. First action, best action is about starting your day or restarting your day in a way that will help you to really make choices that help you to create an authentic life. It is the perfect companion to the Tapping Q&A podcast. And the third podcast is a personal journey, which you can join me on or not, ourladyofpodcast.com. So if you heard these descriptions, if you know someone in your life who likes the Tapping Q&A podcast and should be listening to it and they're not, or if First Action, Best Action, or Our Lady of Podcast sounds like it is something interesting that someone else in your life would appreciate, the marketing budget for all of these shows is your word of mouth. The most common way someone finds a new piece of audio is by trying it themselves, enjoying it, and turning to a loved one saying, hey, I think you might enjoy this. Our Lady of Podcast actually comes with discussion questions with each episode, so you might even be able to create a little group and listen to it and have a conversation with a loved one as you navigate that. If you have any questions about this, about the direction of Tapping Q&A, about how to find any of the 1,100 resources on the website, which might be hard for you to find the right one, I can always be reached, Gene, Gene, at tappingqa.com. Or if you go to tappingqa.com, just click on that contact link. Remember, subscribe to this show, subscribe to the other shows, wherever you listen to audio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, basically anywhere you listen to audio online. Search for those titles. Make sure you click subscribe or follow. Turn on the notifications so when new episodes come out, be them 4 times a week or every 2 weeks or so, you will be notified right away. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Monterastelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Monterastelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Monterastelli and Tapping Q&A.